what Scott does to me ever since 2014. He knows I hate wearing dresses because I'm tomboy.
Yeah.
Let's put her as a character in a dress. So that's been the running joke for years.
Hi, everyone who doesn't know who I am. My name is Noelle, also known as Charge and Die. I'm a professional scare actor. I tell Scareactor stories as my main content here and on YouTube and TikTok. And I have a special guest with me tonight. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Rielly. I'm an OG character, started in 2006. So we'll see where this conversation goes.
Oh, it's gonna go everywhere. There is no real structure, Fee. We just chill and chat.
No structure is, our best environment to work in, I guess you could say.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Give us the freedom to do what we want, and we get the best scares. So, you said you started in 2003, you said?
2006.
2006. Okay, so what got you started in scare acting?
Actually, I used to work at a, major theme park, and I was in a different department. And that was the year they were bringing back their Halloween event. So they're like, oh, we need people. And I'm like, well, might as well give it a try. So I went on audition, got it, and I was in one of the only two mazes that they had at the time. And during that time, the run was only, I want to say 7 days.
Wow.
So, yeah,
very
right?
different from now. Wow.
7 days in October, and that was it. But so that was fun. I was able to do that, and then they decided to put up a year-round attraction. So I auditioned for that, and pretty much the rest is history. And I've been involved since, like I said, 2006, and not just with the major theme park. I've done other events as well.
Mm-hmm. Do you not want to mention names of where you've worked or characters that you've done or anything? Do you want to?
No, that's fine. I just wasn't sure if I was allowed to, per se.
Yeah, that's up to you. I leave it up to other people. Thomas, hi. 7 days. It's like 360 now. Yeah.
Right? It's like the whole
it's
year
so
now.
Many. Yeah, it like starts so much earlier every year and goes later. I remember when it started going into November, and I went, why?
Exactly.
Why?
And then like that first 2 weeks, especially now that it starts in September, you're just like dying because it's like 102-degree weather. And
it's super bright out because daylight savings hasn't kicked in yet. So you start scaring when it's daylight and you're like, everyone can see me.
It's like, I'm gonna go, especially like working streets. There's nowhere you can hide.
Right.
Especially during the day, you just feel awkward just standing there like, oh, yeah.
That was definitely me. I've only done one scare zone for Universal, and that was in 2018 as the wolf. So I had my big wolf mask. So it was easy to hide my shame, but I can hide.
Exactly. No, I started doing streets in 2014 when I was on Masquerade, and that was, oh my god, that costume. It was a 50-pound costume easily. Yeah.
What was it exactly? I don't know what that is.
Okay, so Masquerade, it was basically a bunch of French masqueraders that were cannibals over there on French Street, and I think they kind of did a rehashing of it when they did the Universal Monsters? It was?
Yes, Universal Monsters, and then the outside scare zone that, you let out.
That was the rehash of it.
Okay.
Well, when I was doing it, we had the full hoop skirt, we had the pantyhose, everything, like the whole corset. It was a 50-pound costume, and the overdress was made out of muslin. On top of having gloves that went all the way up to your elbow.
Huh. So not breathable, very heavy.
Not breathable. The mask itself had a big powdered wig on it attached to it.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And that was the year that torrential rains happened. And the whole street flooded, and my 50-pound costume went to being a 100-pound costume.
I was just going to say that water. Oh, that would have made it so much heavier. What? What is rain? What?
What do you mean? It's fine.
What is rain? It's fine. It never rained as far as I can remember, other than just maybe sprinkling, not anything to be worried about. other than in, once again, 2018. It was just one night, lots of rain. I don't know, you scared in 2018?
Yes, I was actually down in the Metro Scare Zone, so Holidays in Hell.
Okay, gotcha. Do you remember the night where it rained a lot?
Oh yeah, I was still outside in it.
Oh, you were one of the few to scare in it.
Yeah,
Wow.
we were one of the few, and they closed everything down there except our scare zone, and they were still selling alcohol.
Oh God, why?
Exactly. And
Why?
this is when all the thunder and lightning started, and I'm standing right next to some giant eye-tells, and I'm like, Yeah, it was.
If I die scaring, at least I died doing what I loved.
Exactly. And that's just, oh my God. Yeah, it was just god awful that one night.
It was hilarious because I wanted to scare. I told Dan, I was like, I can go out there if you need me. And he was like, yeah, please go out there. We need people to scare. But the person in charge of the masks and the gloves that the wolves wore and like makeup and everything, she stopped me. She grabbed my arm.
It was like,
yeah, she was like, nope, this one's not going. You see that head that she's wearing? I am not about to clean that and get it all like mildewy and moldy, getting in the rain and having to replace it if not cleaning it out. And I'm not dealing with that. She's staying put. She's going inside. I said, well,
they just put a leash on you and took you to the back.
Basically, but the equivalent of that was actually just letting me play video games. It's the same thing.
Right? It's just like, oh, okay.
Like, put a leash on her. Give me a controller. Yeah. Just stay here. You could trust me not to move.
Right? Exactly. Just distract you, you know?
Exactly. I got another redeemed hydrate. Thank you, Ben. Staying hydrated. Stay hydrated,
That's
folks.
important.
It is very important, especially scaring. So you started because they were just bringing the event back. They needed people. Were you into horror before that? Were you into acting before that?
I've always been into horror. I totally have always been into horror. Whatchamacallit? So going back to my childhood, I was actually raised on a carnival up until I was like 7 years old. I know, right?
Wow, that's so cool.
So my parents were legit like ride jocks, and it goes to saying that because my stepdad, he used to work, on the rides and stuff, but he used to go and put makeup on his breaks and go into the dark rides and mess with people. So I think that's where a lot of it came from. Plus, like, some of the people I grew up with around here, like, I wouldn't say kids, they were already teenagers by the time I was a kid. They would work at Knott's every year. So it kind of just like pushed me into that, I guess you could say. But I didn't go to my first like Halloween like haunt type of thing until I was 13.
Okay. So you grew up in this scene. You knew what
I
to
knew what was
expect.
going on. Exactly.
Yeah. Was it different acting, like being the scare actor versus just attending those places?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I'm a big scaredy cat.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I was like, I actually legit get scared. So, I'm not I could be jaded, but at the same time, I'm not a jaded character because, like, I go to have fun. I don't go to point out people's mistakes and be judgy and be like, oh, that set sucked. They should have scared right there,
Yeah, it does. It doesn't help going through being a character at a haunt because you are trained to find the openings. Like, you immediately walk into a room and go, oh, someone's going to pop out there. Like, I know, I can see the openings, but I also don't want to ruin it for myself. I'm like you. I could be a big scaredy baby. I am very embarrassing to be around because my legitimate scared reactions are swear, scare, and just over the top scream running around.
I am the same exact way.
I don't mean to, but it's really funny. If you don't mind, I will tell an example story for those who haven't heard this yet. One of the earliest dates I went on with my boyfriend was at Universal when they still had the Walking Dead attraction. And I had always gone through the Walking Dead alone. Like, I never had anyone with me. When I go through a haunt alone, I put on a brave face. I'm just like, nothing can scare me. I don't want to be that person. Oh God. But when I'm with someone I know and I trust, like my now boyfriend, I let the guards down, and anything can happen at that point.
Let yourself go free.
Exactly. And sometimes if I'm not in the right mindset to be scared, it's a fake it till you make it mentality of like, I'm going to pretend to scream just to help the actors out. I don't want them to feel like they're not doing a good job just because I don't get scared that easy at first. But after a while doing that, I legitimately get scared, and then every little thing can set me off. So that's what happened with The Walking Dead. I went through The Walking Dead 2 or 3 times before this happened. No one ever wanted to go with me because they were too scared. So I would go through alone just to prove it's not that bad. It was scary. But then I went through with my boyfriend, and there was this one part. Have you gone through The Walking Dead?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know? Okay. So the part where you go into this like fairly large room with a staircase. I don't know the characters' names. I'm sorry, I haven't seen The Walking Dead. But someone's like shooting, going, "Get out of here! I'll hold them off." And then a zombie comes out of this door on the left-hand side, right? And that's the scare in that room. I was expecting that. I wasn't scared of that. So I'm going through with him. He's behind me, of course, because he's like, ladies first. I want to see you get scared. So I start.
He's the one that's scared. That's what it is.
Of course. They just don't want to show off their face of being scared, so they're like, you go first. So I go through, and I was expecting the zombie on the left. What I've never seen before that day was a zombie coming out of a door on the right. So a zombie bursts through that door that I had never seen before, and I go, I wasn't expecting you! And my back is to the other zombie. The other zombie comes out of the door, like, perfect opportunity that I presented. I should have known better. They come out, and I freak out. I'm like, I was expecting you! And then I flung my back against the wall, and I, like, sunk down, like,
like a terrible 80s slasher movie.
It really was. Oh, I belong in those movies, but that was my legitimate reaction. I felt so embarrassed because I had to explain to my now boyfriend, yeah, that was not fake. I'm sorry, I'm over the top when I get scared. And that is why I have Horror Night Wednesday game nights, see a Scareactor get scared, because might as well show people my big reactions.
Right?
Yeah, like just it's hopefully entertaining. If I am in pain, at least entertain people. And that's what scare acting is, right?
Yeah, take people along for the ride.
Huh?
For sure.
Yeah.
I said take people along for the ride. Why not?
Hell yeah. What has been your favorite thing about scare acting so far?
It's just entertainment. I love, people's reactions and everything, and it's just well, like my brother used to say, when you put on a mask, you become your true self, I guess you can say.
Oh,
like yeah, right? And it's just the anonymity, but being able to like be a character that you usually have to like hold back within yourselves, and just being out there. Because but at the same time, it's fun to like interact, especially with kids like that are not afraid of monsters at all. And it's just that little magic, I guess you could say, happens. So it's kind of like a dark, like, kind of like a dark fun thing type of.
Yeah, especially if you're already into horror and you don't have an outlet for it, because everyone judges horror as like this weird thing unless it's around Halloween time. So like, what are we supposed to do the rest of the year?
And then everyone jumps on the bandwagon.
Yeah, and then everyone jumps on the bandwagon during Halloween time. It's like, you're not a true fan. I'm not gonna gatekeep here. Absolutely, Halloween's for everyone, horror's for everyone, but do you have to make fun of me the rest of the year for liking this?
Exactly. Like
it's almost like a reverse gatekeep.
Right? My brother and I were talking about this not too long ago, how when we grew up, we loved Nightmare Before Christmas, and people were like, you used to make fun of us, and then now all of a sudden everyone loves Nightmare Before Christmas. I'm like,
I always loved it. I had a Nightmare Before Christmas themed birthday in 2019. This is before the mess, because my birthday fell on Friday the 13th. And it just happened. Yeah, it was like, and my birthday's around Christmas time, so that's why I merged the two for Night Before Christmas theme. I was like, it's Halloween because Friday the 13th-esque and Christmas.
That's perfect.
Perfect. Oh, I was so excited about the cake. That has nothing to do with scare acting. I'm just going to say, I called this place to special order a cake, and I said, anything Night Before Christmas related. It doesn't have to be perfect, small, keep it under this budget. I'm broke. And they were like, oh, I don't know if we can do this. I'm like, I'll settle with a death cake, like a condolences cake. I don't care. Like, give me something. And they were like, okay, well, I think we could give you just like a few gravestones on. I'm like, perfect, go with it. And they called me up the day of, and they said, hi, we saw your notes about like Night Before Christmas, and I'm sorry, we actually don't have the gravestones on hand. We ran out of those decorations, so what would you like to do? And I'm like, what can you do? Can you just say happy birthday, Noelle? Like, what you got? You got nothing?
Black and red or something, black and
just
orange.
Something, like purple, white, and black. Like, just those colors. Can you just do that? And the woman, bless her heart, on the phone was like, oh, well, are you okay if I just make Jack Skellington's face on the cake or something out of frosting? I'm like, that's exactly what I wanted in the first place. Yes, please do that. And it was the most gorgeous cake I've ever seen. And just thank you.
That's what happens when people don't listen.
Yeah, and now my camera's out of focus. Focus. Focus, camera. Focus. God, you're like my mind right now. Focus.
just look.
Hey!
Oh,
Oh man! All
that
right.
cracked me there for a minute.
Oh. All right. So you love to entertain. That's what we were talking about. You love to entertain. You love entertaining the kids. We were talking about this a little earlier. I told you how people call me Mama Wolf because my stories where I adopted children. Can you share some stories of how you entertain children or helped them get over some scares or something?
One of my favorite ones that comes back to mind is when I was Mrs. Claus down on Baker Street in 2015.
Ah.
And this little girl, she was kind of iffy and like kind of like, I don't know if I want to, go, So I popped out scared her, and she was like, oh, like she was like maybe 7 or 8. But then I got her to follow me and sneak up on people. So we did like the whole Scooby-Doo sneak.
Oh, I love that.
And then I would distract them, and she would go to the next side and be like, rah! It was the cutest thing. And it was just, felt like the Pied Piper there for a minute.
That's fantastic. Oh, that's so cute. I love getting the kids to like join in on the scare. Because especially people don't expect that.
Exactly. They're like, what? You've turned them over. But yeah, and like I said, before we went on air is the whole Mama Monster moniker. Because I've been around for so long, and I've always been like, you need to make sure you're eating. You need to make sure you're drinking. I always kind of looked out for, especially the younger guys coming in. And one especially comes into mind. I don't know if you've met him before, Dalton, but he is.
I know.
He is my scare son. I have been there from the beginning. I adopted him. I'm like, that's my son. That's my number one son. I mean, I have my biological son, obviously, but no, he's always going to be my scare son, and he knows that. And he even goes, "Hey, Mom," I have a few people like, "Hi, Mom, what's going on?"
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah, like I said, I met him when he was 17, and then I always kind of just kept my eye on him, and then he got taller than me, and I'm like, okay.
Well, of course that happens. So what's your biggest advice that you would give newbies? Do you have like
newbies, take care of yourself. It's all fun and games about going out there and soldiering it through and everything, but you really got to take care of yourselves and, still learn to control. Like, it's great to have a bunch and a ton of energy and everything, but dish it out little by little, because otherwise you're going to die by the end of the night.
Pace yourself.
Yeah. Especially if you're doing like a 4 or 5 day week. Oh my God.
Those are killer. Like, whenever I try to describe it to people who aren't scare actors, they're like, I mean, I work 5 days a week and I'm fine. But are you physically moving, scaring, acting as a character? Like, acting itself is exhausting physically and mentally. But then you're putting on a scare character, which is even more energy than less. Even if you're not moving a whole lot, you're putting the effort in. And it's hard to explain when you're not an actor.
Yeah.
But then you're doing this for how many hours in a row, how many days in a row, and it is physically and mentally draining. People just don't get that.
Well, like I've told people for years, I'm like, just imagining doing 5 sets of straight up cardio for 45 minutes. There you go. That's basically what it is.
And it depends on the set that you get, because you could have the worst one, in my opinion, is the hour on, half off. I don't know why that one exists, because it would take me half an hour just to get out of costume enough to use the restroom, which I had to do every time I went on break, because you're guzzling water and Gatorade to stay hydrated. I like the 45-45, which means 45 on, 45 off for those who don't know.
That's the sweet spot.
That's a sweet spot, because a lot of the time I was half on, half off when I was the wolf. And I haven't talked about any other year that I've scared, but I've scared more years than that one year. That was just like the main scare zone year, so it's a big bulk of my examples of like the fun stories and everything, and that was probably my favorite character. So that's why I keep going back to that. But that one was half on, half off. And it sounds easy, but when you're wearing that big, heavy mask that would cut my nose, by the way, I was always bleeding right here. You just deal with it, you know, you just put some tape on, you're good. And then gloves and dress and everything, moving constantly for 30 minutes. I couldn't see, breathe, or move with the head, so my body would start shutting down after 20 minutes. And there's no place for the sweat to go. I would always tell people after the fact, yeah, you remember when I would like roar to the sky every once in a while? Like, oh yeah, that was epic, yeah. That was because sweat pooled in the gloves and I needed to get it out.
Yeah.
But like in character. So I find ways around it, but I couldn't sweat it out. So my body would start shutting down after 20 minutes. I would push the last 10 minutes, get to my half-hour break, take the full half hour to have someone else do every hook and eye off of me, take the whole leotard off just to use the restroom, and that's all I had time for. And then I'd put it all back on.
Oh, God.
And then go back out, do it all again. But I hadn't fully recovered, so I'm just pushing myself the rest of the night. And you're doing this from, let's see, we started scaring at 7 because we had the ceremony. And then we went until like 2, 3 a.m. Depending on how long people took to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot. It's a lot. So when we say we're doing like 4 or 5 days, that's really pushing it. 3 days is good. But the days where there were only 7 days in the scare season. Wow.
I think the longest I've ever done was 6 days in a row, but that's because I decided, hey, I'm going to go play at Dark Harbor for a day.
Well, that's worth it. I don't blame you for that.
No. It's like, at least I was able to speak over there, so all the smart ass remarks that I've heard for years and years and years, finally able to use the responses I wanted back, so.
See, that's nice. I miss speaking. We're not allowed to speak at a Universal, just so people know. Yeah. It's a rule that we can't speak. We can make noises, and if we have pre-approved lines, like if we're a face character and they say that in the movie, and we say it well enough, maybe we could get that to slide by, but...
It is very rare for that to happen.
It's very rare, so we are not allowed. It's a liability issue. That's why I'm gonna audition again this year. I have a big girl 9-to-5 job now. So I don't think I have time to scare this year. And I live an hour and a half away now. So.
Oh, Jesus.
I used to be able to walk to work. I wouldn't because, LA and nighttime. But I was so close to Universal. I would have been able to walk there. It would have been an hour walk, but feasible. And it was a 5-minute drive. I would roll out of bed around 3 p.m. after recovering from the night before.
Oh, man. This sounds like heaven.
Just strolling to work at 4. Just not even rushing, and everyone's like, oh, I'm gonna be late. I'm like, oh, honey, what's that feel like? And now karma is a bitch, because I live so far now, and it's gonna be rush hour. And I work another job on the side, so it's like, oh no, what did I say that for? I blame me entirely. So now I'm tempted to like audition for other places too, and there are pros and cons to every place. What's been, I guess you shouldn't say this. I'll ask the question. If you want to answer, great. If not, that's okay. But what has been your favorite place to work and why? You can plead the fifth.
It's got to be Universal because I met a lot of my great friends there. I've met my now husband there.
Really? Was he a Scareactor too, or was he working?
No, he was never a Scareactor. He was always a behind-the-scenes guy.
Huh.
And he works there full-time. I'm not going to say where because, you know.
Yeah, that's fair.
But he's, like I said, we've been together since 2006. As a matter of fact, there's a funny story about that. So
please share.
When I started working in 2006, you know, I was working at Universal full-time. He's been there for 20-plus years. And back then, we had so much downtime. Like, it was ridiculous how much downtime we'd have. So I would just clock in, get my stuff, and then pretty much go sit on the Take Five's patio, which was a lot different back then, just chilling, hanging out. And then he would tease me when he'd walk by. He goes, must be nice getting paid to be sitting on your butt the whole time. I'm like, yeah, it actually is. And so he actually ended up doing overtime in that maze, and we just started connecting and hanging out, and I guess you could say the rest is history.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
So, and throughout the years, we've worked Horror Nights together, but not necessarily the same, well, obviously not the same venue or anything like that, but not even the same department, I don't think, other than like one or two times, but I always made the joke, they always put us at way opposite ends of the park. Like, if he's upstairs, I'm all the way down at Metro.
They're like, they can't be tempted. No. Keeping us far apart.
Well, you know, and then we had our son in 2008. So, of course, the running joke was because I pretty much, like, came back not that long after Horror Nights, like, hey, I'm pregnant. They're like, how did that happen?
Oh, because wink, huh? What? Huh?
Well, we were working the same venue, and we were just dating at the time. So I was in the entertainment area. He was operations. So they're like, you know, giving me the look. I'm like, that was nothing like that. So
I know what it looks like. It's not like it's not like that at all. So
I spent my whole pregnancy pregnant at House of Horrors. I'm sure you remember that venue. I don't know if you ever got.
Yes, actually. That was the one that was formerly Van Helsing, right?
Correct.
I remember the Van Helsing one. I went through the House of Horrors once after that. I preferred the Van Helsing personally because I love that movie, but
oh yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
But that's where I worked from 2007 to 2010, and like I said, I spent my whole pregnancy just pregnant as first it was Mother Bates, and then I moved over to Igor, so we made the joke that I was Pregor. Before that, it was Shigor, the three-humped wonder. So I was one of the only females that played Igor, but oh my god! So
I love those names. Very creative.
Right?
It's like I'm not even mad. That was good.
Props to you guys, but so yeah, that was interesting being a Scareactor while being pregnant for the first couple of months, and then
that
of course
must have been exhausting. I'm so sorry.
Oh god! Oh my god, it was, but it was worth it.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
And then they moved me over to host when I couldn't fit the costume anymore because you know you can't have a Scareactor running around pregnant.
Oops.
So, what happened to that one? Oh, they got stung by a bee. They're fine.
They're very allergic. It's never going away.
So I pretty much stayed working in a haunted house until I was 8.5 months pregnant when the doctor said, you know, you wanted a false labor. I think you should stay home because I actually wanted a false labor while working. So everyone was making the joke, the damn baby's going to be born at House of Horrors.
What an epic birth story, though, if that were to happen. Like, whoa, that would have been awful to go through, but the after story, jeez.
God, right?
Very tempting. It's like, I mean, I don't want to do that, but I kind of want to do that.
Right? You're like, you know.
This kid is going to have a very interesting story to share later.
Right? Exactly. And it was, like I said, it's just, so this my son, like, he's going to be 13 now, so he grew up around it. I mean, here he is 2 weeks old, and I'm taking him to the break room, like, hey, look at my baby, guys. And he's over there being manhandled by the wolf man.
like the House of Freaks with a heart of gold. Just like, let me take this baby.
Exactly. That's why we always joke he's my little monster cub because he grew up around it too. And, and matter of fact, when he first started walking, I had his hands, like this, and started walking him through the maze. And he, he's all waving at everyone, thinking he's having the best old time. And so he grew up around that. And I think some of the people he really got close to, like mainly the people that played Chucky, because I'm sure, he thought they were kids like him.
Yeah.
But I remember taking him to Universal not that long after they started tearing House of Horrors down. And he just he looked at it like, kind of like, what? And he's like, but where's Chucky gonna live?
Oh.
And I was like, oh.
On Terror Tram, young one. On Terror Tram.
Yeah, I know, but it was so sad. I'm like, he's just gonna be put away for a while. And I was like, nah.
Oh, it's fine. He can handle it. I just saw your comments, Doc. Gonna bounce. It was nice seeing you. Yeah, it was nice seeing you too. Thanks for being here. And he says it's nice meeting you too, Fee.
Oh, nice meeting you.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Hope to see you in the next stream. Yeah, but what an epic birth story. It's just how things got started. It's funny because, you met your now husband working as a scare actor. I may or may not have met my now boyfriend scare acting. Because I didn't know this. We actually met on OkCupid. We met not in person at first. It was all online. Mm-hmm. And when I gave him my Facebook, he immediately scrolled down and was like, "You worked HHN?" And I was like, "Did you stop me? Yeah, why?" And he's like, "I worked HHN." I'm like, "Are you a scare actor?" He's like, "No, he's on the tech side, so he's on the other side of things." And he was like, "I recognize you." What? What do you mean you recognize me? And he's like, "You were the wolf on New York Street." Yeah, I was in the Halloween maze right next to you.
Oh my God. It's funny that you mentioned that. My husband was the ops supervisor for the Halloween maze that year.
No way! Oh, it's a small world. And that's another additional
industry. That's it. You know everybody.
You know everyone, or at least you've seen It's so weird though, because I don't recognize people as is. I have to see them in their makeup to know who they are after seeing them for so long. But yeah, so Glenn, my boyfriend, he remembers me because obviously I'm the one in the costume. All I remember are a bunch of shoes because the wolf's eyes were up here, and to make it look at people, I'd look down. So I just remember a bunch of shoes. I don't remember him, and even if I did, how would I remember his face out of everyone else's? So many people.
I have sweat in my eyes. I'm busy.
I'm just trying to focus on breathing. There's a lot of fog going on here. I can barely see in front of my normal nose, let alone my wolf nose.
Right? Exactly.
It's a lot, and I have to pretend like I know what I'm doing. I don't.
And it's actually a funny story you mentioned about how you can't recognize people without their mask or their makeup.
Yeah.
Just recently, I went to the employee preview for, the theme park and everything. And of course, everyone's wearing masks, so it's hard to recognize people. And I'm like, oh, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so. And my husband's like, how do you know that? I'm like, I can tell by the way they move. So
you recognize people's mannerisms more than their look. Like some of my other wolf girls, there was one in particular. She was a half transformed wolf while I was a full one. So everyone knew what I looked like because the only makeup I had was around my eyes to blend in with the mask. After I take off the mask, they're like, yeah, that's Noelle. But the half transformed girls had prosthetics along their nose. They had fake teeth. They had a fake brow. So they had a bunch of prosthetics. I literally had never seen these girls out of the prosthetics until after the scare season. I knew one of them from the year prior where she had just fake blood on, so I knew what she looked like. But this other one in particular, I had never met her outside of wearing the prosthetics. And then we went to a Halloween party and we were getting ready at her place, and she answers the door and I go, "Is that what you look like?" "Your nose is so small." What? Yeah. I had no idea. And to this day, I still stare at her. Even though I've known her out of makeup longer than her in makeup, I still stare at her going, "Is that what you really look Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
That reminds me of when I was working Walking Dead on Terror Tram, and that was like everyone wore prosthetics back then. So it was like you don't even know, like you're working with the same people like every day, every night, and then you like finally see them without prosthetics. You're like, what? You're like, what? Who are you?
Absolutely floored. Like, you paint a picture in your head of what you think they might look like, and it's always different. It's always different outside of prosthetics.
You're like, huh? Unless you're sitting like right next to them getting makeup on, then you don't know what they look like. Even at the end of the night, it's just like, okay.
Nope, I always grabbed food before our shift at Take 5, and she was already in makeup, so she was like eating in wolf garb, and I was like, I don't know what you look like.
And that always made me laugh too, seeing the Scareactors like eating in their makeup, just kind of like.
Oh, the poor things that had the jaw prosthetic. I worked Terror Tram 2017, and we were in the Friday the 13th maze. So it was a bunch of Jasons going around killing the camp counselors. So us camp counselors, we had different things. I wore a mask that year too, so the only makeup I had was around my eyes again. So spoiled in that fact, but not at the same time. I don't want to wear masks forever. They're very claustrophobic sometimes. I would love to have a prosthetic or just makeup every once in a while. I want to move my face. But it's pros and cons. The pro is you don't have a lot of makeup on and you could just take the mask off and everything, so it's absolutely great. But the poor things with the jaw prosthetic, so it was like the jaw was ripped out of the face a little bit. So it looked really gross, but it kind of like went over their regular lips. So for them to drink water, they had to have straws and just like off the side of their mouth. It was so hard to watch because I felt so bad. And I was also that person that pissed everyone off every day because I was called Grindstone Kill. I don't know if you know the maze, but I sat at a grindstone, and Jason would push my face into the moving grindstone, and then I would sync up my scream to the sound. That was it. I had a gross mask. That was it. Spoiled. Spoiled. I loved it. I sat the whole time. It was great. But I would start off every shift going up to my mask, going, well, back to the daily grind. And put the mask on, go to my grindstone, pelvic thrust, and then sit down and start my shift.
So bad. But awesome. So bad.
It got laughs the first 2 times I did it, and then at the third and beyond, everyone was sick of me. But I was also known as that girl from that point on. We're like, oh, we can't be mad at her. You know, she's adorable. Bless her heart. No.
Now on the subject of makeup and stuff.
Yes.
So back in 2012, I was a Silent Hill nurse. So that was an interesting costume because it was pretty much a latex dress and nothing was pretty much left to the imagination.
Nice.
The only thing that was terrible about it is any kind of skin that was showing was airbrushed. So you can imagine trying to get all that airbrushed off at the end of the night.
Oh my.
So like all down my neck, my chest, everything. So it was not only just like a white base right here, they had to do like the veins and everything.
Oh,
so,
I'm familiar. Oh yes.
The mask, but Jesus.
It's a lot. Like, what did you do to get out? Did you just have makeup wipes or did you use like shaving cream?
Shaving cream, but the thing that sucked, after you've been doing it for a while, it just kind of starts to stain into your skin. So, I have a regular job too. So I'd go into my regular job with, somewhat still of the veins on. They're like, what happened to you? I'm like, it's my night job. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I would totally mess with them. I'd be like, what? What are you talking? Oh my God. And I need to go. I need to see a doctor and just like never come back.
Yeah, that was one of the most interesting costumes I've ever had to wear because like I said, it was like total, like it was cloth on the inside, latex on the outside. So it just kept your sweat in there.
I was just going to say that doesn't sound like
cold because it was short.
Oh my. How do you move in that? Like,
the thing is, because of how the nurses moved, you had to move weird anyway, so.
Yeah, but would it like creep up on you at all? Because I always had trouble with like latex stuff creeping up after a while.
It wasn't too bad. It just kind of, it was just, like I said, it was just weird.
Yeah.
It was a fun role, but man,
See,
it killed my knees.
That's another thing. Like, I would love to have them implement this system of like maybe sitting down with a scare actor and just showing certain costumes. Be like, do you think they'll be able to move and breathe in this? Do you think this is okay? And have the scare actor be like, you know, scare actors need to pee. You know, like, how are they going to get out of this? You know, that character is supposed to be bent like this, and that doesn't seem to be a very movable fabric. Like, it'll like cause it to dig into their skin, maybe choose a different fabric, you know, something like that. Just a consultation meeting, just one with any kind of scare actor, and we'll be able to tell you that's okay, that's not okay.
Well, like that first weekend, they're like, hey, let's put the nurses in heels.
No, seriously?
Yes. They put us in heels. I'm like, I'm not wearing that. I don't even know how to walk in heels regularly. I'm not going to wear heels for scaring.
Never wear heels while scaring unless you want to break an ankle. God, no. Why did they think that was going to be okay?
Like big heels. There's
it
little
doesn't
ones,
matter. Like, even if you're just wearing Converse for a while, it's going to hurt. Put it in heels? That's even worse.
Yeah, it was horrible. I'm like, no, I'm not wearing this. Get me something else. So they finally moved us over to Tom's, but that wasn't that much better because you're working on like gravel and everything, you know, because this space was behind Mummy.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they almost put one of my wolf girls in go-go boots. And then she was like, no, I don't want to die. And they're like, okay, let's give her these really ugly white grandma sneakers then. And she was like, I'm supposed to be slutty. Okay.
She couldn't find anything else. She just threw on this.
Nothing in between that. Okay. It's either heels or orthopedic sneakers. Like.
Hey, but she thanked you later because her feet probably weren't hurting as bad, right?
Nope. I had probably the worst time with shoes when it comes to wolves because she never had to scare in the go-go boots. She just had the grandma sneakers, and she was fine with them. She made it work. That was great. For me, they didn't even have my boots for the first month or so scaring, and they would give me different boots up until then, and each time it was like really heavy work boots that was really hard to scare in, with really long laces, and it was a different size every time. Like, they put me in one that was one whole size too big once. They were like, just wear extra socks. And I said, no. Give me shoes that fit me. And then they had the audacity to try and throw out the boots that I waited so long to get, and they were so much easier to scare in. Like, they're not made to be scared in, they're not made to be running around in, but at least they were better than the super heavy, ugly boots that dug into my ankles every time. But they had the audacity to try and throw them away the last day of scaring and give me those ugly boots back for the last day. And I said, why? Where are my boots? And so I had to go up to like the head of costumes and go, where are my boots? They gave me these ugly MFers for the last night. I refused to wear these. I wore them for the first month. I waited so long. I did my time. Give me the boots I like. And she was like, oh, are these yours? And she holds them up and I go, yeah, what's wrong with them? And she's like, oh, there's like starting to form a hole right here. I go, it's not a hole yet. Just give me the night. It'll have a hole after. Can I just do the one night? and they threw away my insoles. So for the last night, I was scaring without insoles too. And I was like, why?
Oh, God.
Why did you do that? First off, you threw away the boots that I expected to have, and they were mine, so I leave my insoles in there, right? And then they just throw the insoles away rather than the whole boot plus insole. Like, what? Why? Where's the logic? I don't get it.
That is why I started bringing my own shoes and getting them approved and been like, I'm wearing these.
Yeah, that's what I did. No, actually, I didn't. I almost did that for my first year at HHN. I definitely did that for other haunts. It's just safer. So if you're thinking of scare acting, if you're working at a place and they supply shoes and you're like, I am gonna get hurt wearing those, if you could find anything you have similar to those, bring them in, get them approved, just wear those. Just know that it's gonna be a lot of wear and tear.
Safest bet is always a black shoe, no matter what.
Always bring, well, they say that too, like at orientation, they're like, just bring black standard non-brand shoes if you could help it, for the first like couple weeks while costumes is getting a handle on everyone's costumes. And I did that. And they still gave me the black, ugly work boots that were hard to move in. It was like wearing lead boots. They were so heavy. I said, why not just these? They're like, oh, that doesn't fit the character. I'm a sexy werewolf, and you're telling me these just non-brand, basically Converse sneakers in black is less in character than these men's black work boots? What? The logic does not compute.
Oh no, the logic the last few years was just god awful.
I feel so bad. Everyone's scrambling around, and I think it's just because of the amount of days that we have to work, because like costumes has less time to get the costumes ready because we're starting earlier now. And then on top of that, they have to make sure that they have like backups, or at least it's sturdy enough to last that long while we're moving around in it. So it's a lot. It's a lot on everybody. I don't get why they have to, I mean, I get why they have to keep adding days because money, honey. But from a scare actor perspective, I don't get it. No one comes in early September. No one really comes in the first week of November. Halloween already happened.
Or the early entries down at Metro when there's mazes when it's light. I'm like, huh?
Like, can we wait until after daylight savings, please? Can we wait until it's dark at 7 instead of waiting till 8? And then it's like, okay, I feel more comfortable in my element now. It felt so wrong walking around as a wolf in the daylight. I was like, I might as well just be going to Ralph's and picking up some food in this costume.
Like, I have to shave. That's why I'm out like this.
I always joked with people. They were like, how did you end up getting the wolf? Oh, I didn't eat that day. I was hangry. I was typecast for sure. Scott took one look at me and was like, she's mean. Wolf.
You know what Scott does to me ever since 2014? He knows I hate wearing dresses because I'm tomboy. Yeah. Let's put her as a character in a dress. So that's been the running joke for years. So as a running joke for years, whenever I have a dress, I flash people and then run away.
Fantastic! I love it. I wish I did that as the wolf in the dress. Oh, that's really the only time I flashed someone like that was when costumes came by and they were like, any costume issues? I went, I can't pay! And I just showed them my leotard. I did that for 2 weeks until they finally put snaps under there so someone didn't have to like do the hook and eye thing every time, taking the full half hour. It just took 10 minutes from there.
Yeah, that's my thing. It's just flashing everybody. And then I remember my 2018, they didn't have my pants or my shorts for my costume that year up until like 2 weeks in. And my supervisor knew it. He goes, I better not see that dress go up. I'm like this? So they're having, my underwear and everything like this. He goes, oh, God.
You are now my new favorite person. Just for that.
Ask anybody, if you ask anybody around the HHN, feet flashes, oh yeah.
Oh, I do not doubt it at all. Absolutely not. This is the scare actor jokesterness. That's a word. That's a word now. I made it up.
Well, the thing is, like, I've always held on to the belief, like, well, if you can't scare them, make them laugh. So. Yes.
Bubba said the same thing, actually, when I interviewed him. And I thought that was really interesting. I want to do some research on the psychology of that, because he said, psychologically speaking, if you can't scare someone, make them laugh, because it's the same like energy put into the emotion. So when you make them laugh, it's going to actually be easier to scare them next time because you already brought them up to that level.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're entertainers. Like the flip of that is like we're just entertainers. If we're not going to be able to scare you, then we're going to entertain you however we know how.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've always like said, oh, I'm more of a Looney Tunes type of character because I'm just goofing off, but making it. Unless like you've seen me do stuff, you're like, oh my God, what is she doing? But then it's just stupid stuff that we do as characters to try to make each other trip up. So
yeah. Oh yeah. The ongoing loving feud between Scareactors.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time. I mean, let's see. Let me think of some stories that won't get anybody in trouble.
Please, yeah, no, take your time. I want to hear some stories.
There's been some times I've kind of told the line, and I'm like, ooh, this could have gone either or. So back in 2014, when I was working Masquerade, there's like 6 of us out on the street, and one of the cannibals had a leg that, it was like a half a leg like this that they were munching on, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. As one does.
I see a guy coming out in a wheelchair. He's an amputee. I grab the prop, right, and I just walk up to him holding it. And I'm like, this could go bad either. This could go good or bad. So I'm just holding there. I look at the prosthetic. I look at him. I look at the prosthetic. I look at it. It's the same exact one that he lost, too. He's like, holy shit, you found it, thanks. So all the other characters come over, and we're just sitting there trying to figure out how to put it back on. It was
oh my God.
It could have gone either way because, especially nowadays, you can offend somebody like that. So,
but also, if you're attending a haunt and there are Scareactors and we are known to be like prankster kind of people, we're gonna mess with you. That's our job. We're already in that mentality. You signed up for this. They need to put a little like addendum to all their policies and rules associated with tickets to HHN and say, if a Scareactor messes with you, they won't touch you, but if they mess with you, don't get offended.
But yeah, he said it was, and then later on I heard he goes, it was the most fun he's ever had at a haunt.
Oh,
so
that's fantastic.
That made my day. Like I said, when other characters saw me doing, they're like, oh my God, this girl's gonna get fired. This girl's gonna get fired. So
at least you would go out on a limb.
But yeah, it was
back
perfect.
to the daily grind. Yes, I'm that girl.
No, it was so much fun because this guy was like having the ball, and then the people that were with him were just dying because here you have 6 characters trying to figure out ways how to put his limb back on.
It really could have gone either way. I'm glad it was the more positive way it could have gone because I have it in my head too of the same thing you did where I would want to do that, but I'm too chicken shit because I don't want to lose my job and that ruins the experience for everyone because what if it would have been a really wonderful time for the guests too? Like you said, he said that was the best time he's ever had at a haunt. So awesome. I'm glad you went for it.
And then a lot of people do this too, where they see a wheelchair and they back up away from the wheelchair. I'm like, no, they're here.
Scare the chair.
Take the chair.
Scare the chair, man. Scare the chair. There's this guest that comes through every year, multiple times throughout a season, and you know who I'm talking about. Forgive me, I'm not sure what the disability is exactly, but isn't it cerebral palsy? Oh,
I think it's cerebral, yeah.
Cerebral palsy. But he loves the Scareactors, and when we come up and scare him, he always has the best reaction. So we actually want to scare him. He's so fun.
He gets so happy. He has the best time of his life.
Like it just starts. I would like sneak around the chair and go like, boo. Obviously not boo, but I would like scare him like that. He'd always flip out and like start laughing.
Yeah,
it warms my heart. It's so great. But yeah, scare the chair. They're there to have a good time too. Don't feel like you have to ease up on them in any way. Obviously, don't like steal them.
Wow.
Without permission, without consent.
Yeah. I mean, back in the day, and I'm sure some of the old Scareactors could tell you this too, that we used to tell the people behind them to move, and then we'd sit there and push them along.
Like if they're going along with it, that's fine, as long as they know like they can trust you. I'm saying more like if they just straight up grabbed the chair and started running it off with it. It's like, no, that's not okay.
Yeah, no, but like I said, just dumb stuff that we do, like same, I don't know what it was that year. It was just like prank year to the extreme.
Yeah.
Because obviously one of the exits of the maze emptied out into our street. So we'd get people constantly coming through there. We played a sit-down game. For those who don't know about this, you try to get as many people to sit down as possible and make it think like you're going to do something, and you just leave them there sitting. So that's there was like 6 of us getting people just be like, oh, sit down, character. I was like, getting people to sit down. We got like 60 people to sit down, like a group of 60. And then we counted down like 1, 2, 3, like we were going to do something, and we just took off into the fog and left them there.
I want to do that now. Oh, yeah. I don't do pranks like that, but that sounds fun, and now I want to start.
You can't do any of that nowadays, but...
Depends on the haunt. If it's a very small haunt and they really don't care what you do, I mean,
but most of your major haunts will not let you do that.
No. Not like the professional stuff where you actually get paid. More like the volunteer stuff where they don't know what's going on anyway, and then you're like, okay, I can have fun here. What are you going to do? Fire me? You don't pay me anyway.
Exactly. And then that year, too, we have this rickety bench that for some reason couples would love to go sit on that bench and make out. So it'd always be like on one side, so I'd like to jump on the other side and sit there and shake it with my legs while they're on it.
Yes.
So
man.
I love to climb on things that I wasn't supposed to back in the day. You know, obviously I'm not as young as I used to be now, so can't do that anymore.
Well, shucks. Were there ever times that you felt like you were too old to do this now, and like I can't do it next year, and
that's 2018 when I finally stepped away from HHN. My body couldn't do it anymore. And like I said, I've been doing it since I was 19. I'm 34 now. The schedule. And then at that time, I had this is a lesson to people that are thinking about scaring and everything. I had a bone spur on top of my foot that was pressing into my nerve and my vein and everything. So I started limping there towards the end because of how painful it was. And I had been dealing with it for years and years and years, thinking, oh, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Because I would constantly like injure and then like walk it off and then re-injure it, just keep doing this for years and years and years. So it finally caught up with me. Mm-hmm. So make sure you're taking care of yourselves, because soldiering it through, you think it's great at the time, but you pay for it in the long run. So, and
Absolutely.
Then I actually ended up having to have surgery because of it. So,
God, I'm so sorry. That's really rough. But I'm glad that you had such a long run too. Not a lot of people can say that. Yeah, and all the fun memories that you made and everything. But yeah, absolutely. Whoever's watching this right now and you're thinking of scare acting, it's fun, it's great and everything, but do take care of yourself. It does take a toll on your body. You may think like, oh, this is going to be a really cool scare, I'm just going to go for it. And then you end up hurting yourself, and then you just kind of walk it off. Listen to your body. If it's one of those things where you just need to sit out a set and recover, do that. It's just a job. Take care of your body. It's the only one you got. I actually took 2019 off for not a reason similar to that, but I did get hurt in 2018 where I stupidly went in front of a stilt walker while they were scaring, and they stomped on my foot. Thankfully, I was wearing boots, so it didn't break my foot, but I did tumble and re-sprain an ankle. So there was a previous injury on that ankle, and it got worse from that. And I walked it off, and I was great. I went through the whole season, but I also bruised my 2 big toes because of all the moving around in the boots that were not meant to be moved around in that way. And I just wanted to take a year off for it to heal. And it did take that whole year to heal all that stuff. So I'm really glad I did that. And then, of course, the mess happened when I was just ready to get back into it. Of course. But if you need to take a day off, a year off, a couple of years off, do it. Take care of yourself. Take care of your body. And don't be too stubborn. This is coming from someone who is too stubborn. A lot of scare actors are like that, too. A lot of scare actors are like, I'm going to push it. gonna just keep going. Yeah, I'm limping, but it's part of my scare now. I'll just work it into it.
Yeah.
You need to sit down, you need to take a breath and go, is this serious enough where I need to go home and take care of it so that I can scare the next day? Because if you don't, then it's going to be like a week-long recovery or year recovery or lifetime recovery. If you take the time you need now, so long-term, you're going to be okay.
And that's very important because a lot of people don't realize, like, we get some bad injuries, whether they're self-inflicted or people. Unfortunately, that's part of the game, is getting hit by people.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, because I've been talking about that a little on my TikTok lately, and I've been getting a lot of comments from both scare actors going, yeah, girl, I'm right there with you. I got punched in the eye, and then I made it my character to have a black eye, and then other people going, oh my God, really? Like, people hit you all the time? Why do you do this? Well, it's because we love it, and people suck. You deal with it. But what's some advice you could give new scarers to hopefully avoid those kind of situations, or how to read people in those situations?
For one, watch somebody coming down the street and see how they react to other people, first of all. You can tell a lot just by the way somebody's walking, especially if they start wobbling. You know they're drunk. Stay away from them. You can just walk. And most of the time, not to like typecast or anything like that. If you see a group of guys and you scare one of them, the one guy is gonna be embarrassed and he is gonna try to hit you. Hate to say it, but that's just how it is. I mean, this is coming from somebody who, I'm pretty much fearless. I've always been like that. Those who have worked with me and known me over the years will definitely say, yeah, she's a badass.
I can tell just from this interview alone. I'm like, yeah, you're cool. I like you.
Yeah, it's just, until you know what your body is capable of and how fast you can move in and out of a situation, then don't put yourself in that situation. The
smartest thing to do is just say no sometimes. Yeah.
And try not, obviously keep an eye on each other. That's the most important thing, is keep each other within eye range, because I've had it happen where people have snuck behind me, and one year I actually got put in a chokehold. Oh no. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, you're going after a girl and putting a guy going and putting a girl in a chokehold. Luckily, I reacted pretty quickly and was able to kind of like hip toss him off me. And luckily it was right there in front of the sheriff. So they saw
So they knew that you weren't at fault. That's good.
Exactly. So, unfortunately there's always going to be a few bad apples that will ruin it. And I'm not saying every guy's like that, every girl's like that. Girls could be just as bad, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I've scared some, like boyfriends. And there was this one time where I scared a guy. He was alone at the time. So I'm like, I'm just going to go for it. It's super slow today. And target right there. I guess he was waiting for his girlfriend, and she came up and was like, how dare you scare my boyfriend? And that line. And she's just like getting all up in my face, like, oh, scare me. And I'm like, no.
Ow.
Goodbye. And then, of course, because I'm a stinker, I blew him a kiss as I ran away.
And it's so funny because these stories, like 2007, I was working at House of Horrors, and I was working as Igor at the time. I had a guy straight up just punch me right in the face. Just straight up punch me in the face. Of course, people think. See, that's the other thing I want to get back to. Everyone automatically thinks that it's all guys underneath the costume. They don't realize half the time that they're hitting girls. So going back to the story, so I go off set. At the time, my now husband was in charge of like the ops people, like in charge of like handling situations like, hey, what's going on? We heard you hit somebody, blah, 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 blah. So of course he was able to stop him. I don't know how he like was able to deal with this, especially knowing that it was me that got hurt. Goes as a testament to his patience with everybody.
Seriously.
But he was going to let him go off with a warning, like, hey, you can't be hitting our characters, blah, 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 blah. Girlfriend chimes in, well, if he can't take a hit, he's a bitch. So, and And then he's like, you know what, you're out of here. And just so you know, you hit a girl. Just a nice little, like, but yeah, it's just ridiculous. Like, I think sometimes the girlfriends can be worse than the guys.
Sometimes, yeah, especially if they're drunk. Like, it really depends. But there have been a lot of times where the guy would push the girlfriend into me.
Oh, I hated that so much.
I hate that. Like, why? Why are you doing this? And it hurt because I would have to stop my scare. Like, I was lunging, so I would have to stop my lunge. And stopping a lunge like that hurts my ankle and my knee because I'm stopping. And I had to do that so many times because these assholes would just push people into me or like try and jump itself. But it got to the point where I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. Guy pushes his girlfriend into me and she was terrified. So I knew she was not at fault at all here. So I hold her and he's laughing, of course, because asshole. And I go to her and I whisper in her ear, dump him, he's the real monster. And I release her and wave goodbye.
You know what? That is actually really good advice. If you're dating a guy and you want to see how he really is, take him to a haunt. And if he starts throwing you in front of monsters, he's not worth it.
It's okay. I give a pass if the guy's like, go in first. You know,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's funny. Like, just go have fun, whatever. And he wants to see you having fun and being scared and everything. That's his joy, right? But if he is actively like holding you down as you go through or pushing you into monsters, it's just
or
so
runs
bad.
off and leaves you there.
Yeah, abandons you. Oh, no, that's not a good guy. And if you're a guy and you do that, or even a girl who does that, like any gendered person,
Significant other.
yes, find someone else. Find someone more considerate for not only you and your feelings, but the actor's feelings too.
Exactly. I mean, I've seen some pretty bizarre stuff. Like I saw an engagement getting broken up on the middle of the street. They got into a fight because he threw her into one of the Scareactors and kind of took off. And she's like, "How dare you?" She took off her ring and threw it at him.
I don't blame her. I would do the same thing.
So poor guy, he's sitting there trying to look for a ring in cobblestone. So
good luck. Maybe you shouldn't be such an ass.
I'm thinking to myself, like, dang, you brought it on yourself, buddy.
Yeah, going back to the just don't scare a group of guys thing, obviously read the body language, but because a guy who's embarrassed in front of his homies is going to throw a punch to try and, like, make it equal again. But there was one time where I scared a guy and he peed his pants in front of his guys. And the other guys just laughed as he, like, tried to go away and hide it. So if you are going to scare a group of guys, make sure it's so bad that one of them pees their pants, because they're not going to throw a punch when they're wet. They're trying to hold it in.
Oh man, it's always
life
fun bringing
experience.
bodily fluids, bodily fluids that you've made people, accomplish.
You've been scaring for many years. I feel like an insane person because I've been interviewing so many scare actors. Only one or two has replied, yes, I do this. I thought every scare actor had this. I guess not. So let me ask you if you have it. Do you have a bucket list of stuff you want to accomplish throughout the year of, like, certain scares? Like, I want to make someone pee their pants. I want to make someone spill a beer. And it's like your goals throughout the year.
I don't necessarily have a bucket list, but I kind of just like, I did that,
Yeah, and that's the same answer that a lot of them would give. It's like, no, I don't, like, go in hoping that would happen, but if it does, like, I remember it. And it makes me giggle.
I made somebody throw up. That was great.
Fun. Nice.
I scared somebody so bad, they're like,
That's cool. Yeah. Was it on a scare zone or in a maze?
No, it was at that Silent Hill maze.
Fun. Who had to clean that up?
Not me.
How do you continue scaring when there's a mess, like, right there, or do they, like, stop you? Once again, camera, focus, dear Lord. Hello.
There you go.
There we go.
They just kind of clear the area and clean it up, and that's it.
Fair enough. What do you do when you get hit by a guest? That's a common question I get.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, there's really nothing much you can do but remove yourself from the area, and try to identify as many things about that person as possible so you can relay the information to the proper people. look at their shoes, their hair color, whether they're wearing glasses, you know, try to get a read on them as best as you can. Height.
Yep. Especially shoes, because shoes are the toughest things to change, clothing wise.
Yeah, shoes are very important. So always,
but not only shoes. Don't just say they were wearing these kind of shoes and that's it.
Whatever accessories you can see, that's very important. Or even if you didn't see the offender per se, you could see who was else in that group with them. That's another helpful one.
Check what time it happened.
Time, place, who they're with, you know.
That's all you can really do. And then if it really knocked the wind out of you and you need to sit a set out, then please do that. Like we said, take care of yourself. Wolf Caller, hello. Have you ever considered self-defense classes to learn how to deflect, or does that rarely work even if you do? We can't touch guests, even if they punch us. Do you have any more to answer with that?
Well, I'm very good at ducking and diving. I will say that it does.
Capoeira. We gotta learn capoeira.
Scareactor.
Scareactor. I love that.
So that as you've been doing the event for a while, you learn how to anticipate people's moves, and you just learn how to move your body in certain ways. And matter of fact, at work, I work, for a major coffee company. And people are like, how do you not run into us? I'm like, it's just all the years I've been a Scareactor. I'm just able to move my body without actually hitting anybody. It just, you learn, I won't say like, it's something that it can be taught. It's something that you just have to learn as you go type of thing.
It is an experience thing, and you don't realize you learned it until after it comes in handy outside of scare. Like, even while you're scaring, of course, you're going to be like in the zone and moving around, and you might have that aha moment of, oh my God, I've acquired the skill. But the first time I realized I had it was when I wasn't scaring, and I was in a theme park with my boyfriend. And I knew I had it already, but this was like one of those moments of like, oh yeah, I forgot I had this. And we were in a theme park, and of course, lots of crowds, and we wanted to get from point A to point B for a reservation. And so I told him, hold on to my shoulders, don't slow me down.
We've been in and out, yes.
And we duck and weave. And thankfully, he's tall enough to keep up with me. And we get out of the crowd. He's like, how did you do that? I was like, I just feel when someone's around. And
yeah, it's like a sixth sense.
It really is. It's a spidey sense that you acquire over years of scaring. And
a scare sense for sure.
For sure. It's a handy thing. And then, of course, when you're like me and you're also clumsy, it just makes you a somewhat normal person.
Yeah, I trip over my own feet. Gee.
Yeah, and it doesn't help. Like, I fell in an audition and still got cast. I don't know how that happened. I full on, like, I guess we could talk about auditions a little bit. We can't say specifics, but that's always a good topic to talk about. People get nervous with auditions, so I like to talk about it and let them know the do's and don'ts. But we were scaring the cone. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be a cone. We just say cone because that's the most common thing used. It could be a chair. It could be a person. Like, but we say scare the cone. So they had 3 cones set up, and they said, pick a character, any character, go for it, scare the cones. I need to say this advice because I saw this happen, and the dude did not get cast. Do not linger on the first cone. They will not tell you when to go to the next cone unless you've been there too long already. So he was just like swiping at a cone for like a full minute, and they're like, move on.
And do not touch it.
Do not touch it. Automatic fail. No matter where you audition, don't touch it. It represents a guest. If you touch a guest, you're out.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't touch the cone. Automatic fail. And that is exactly why I fell. Because my go-to character for auditions is human marionette fighting for her human side. Because I was like, I need to be able to stop myself, because if I'm fully in character, I'm going to want to kill somebody, and I need to stop that. So fight for human side. No, I don't want to actually kill you. Fight over, and like moving like a puppet. I can't control my limbs. And those kind of movements. So I would do that amongst all the cones, and I lost balance, and I had that quick thought in my head of, I can either fall into the cone or I could fall away from the cone, but I'm falling. Make a decision.
Either way, I'm going down.
I'm going down. And then I fell, obviously, away from the cone, and then I tumbled out of it. And then I stood up back to Scott and just walked to the back of the line. Didn't say a word.
Just keep walking, keep walking.
I was just like, controlled movement. Prove to them I can fall, but at least I didn't hurt myself or a guest.
Exactly.
And walk away.
That's another point, going back to being in control of yourself. I see a lot of people that go into these auditions and they're just going buck wild, crazy. That's great. Keep the energy. But please control yourself. Control your body. Control what you're doing. Because honestly, if I see you acting like that, I sure as hell don't want to scare anywhere near you.
I love giving the advice, mix up the tempo, mix up the scare, because this is a good point, and I never mentioned this before, so I'm glad that you brought that up, of like control the movement. I always say that because there is a scare in the immediate change in of itself. It's like you're creating a jump scare almost. So you're like, wild, 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 and then you stop and you stare at someone. Like that in of itself can create a scary effect.
Exactly.
But the flip of that, which I never addressed until right now, because I never thought of it until now, so thank you, is it can show that although you're out of control in that first part, you are actually in control because you were able to stop yourself immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So there is control in the chaos. And you need to be able to show that. So I always advise people, like, if you're going to go all crazy, go crazy. But also show them that you're in control because you want to stop at some point.
Exactly.
And, yeah. So do you have, like, a go-to character you usually do for auditions or anything? If you're in control of choosing a character, do you have a type that you like to go to?
I don't have necessarily a type, per se. I can. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just kind of like natural. It's usually kind of like a werewolf type thing, but I never get cast as a werewolf. I always get cast as like some human character. So it's just that's the main thing. It's just I don't know how to explain it. I just kind of do it. It whatever feels right in the moment.
That's fair. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I like to, if I'm high energy that day, I'll usually do like crazy clown character. I love the crazy clown character. I love it, especially because like if we are working at a place where we are allowed to speak, I say some stupid shit. And I'm not saying it. I'm just in character. People don't tend to understand that. Do you understand what I mean by saying it's the character that did it, not me?
Yeah, you're like possessed.
Do you want to explain that to the viewers a little more? So that I've explained it, but I want to hear someone else explain it.
So the best way of putting it is sometimes a character will always stay with you, and it's kind of like an extension of yourself. So you get so in the moment, you're like, I am this person. I am going to be this person. And it does it by itself. Like, it's just ridiculous because and I always say this too, you always have that one character that will stick with you no matter what, and no matter what other character you do, it just kind of stays in there. It's like ingrained in you.
Yeah, it's like if you're in character enough and you just let it have free reign, it's almost like I black out almost. I just like let things happen. Experience. Yeah, it really is an out-of-body experience because I'll just like go ham, whatever, crazy clown character, go do whatever, and I'll say something and have that moment of, I've literally never said this in my life, but that was beautiful and I'm going to remember this for the future. Like, that was cool. Why did I say that? Why did I do that?
Right? It just happens. It's like the best way of saying it is just you're possessed.
You really are. It's just like, and being in costume and in that environment with the noises and the music and the fog and everything, the character really does take over if you're in the right environment. Because I've gotten so many people, I hate it when people do this, when they're like, oh, you're a singer, sing for me, you're a dancer, dance for me, right here, right now. It's the same with scaring. If I ever told someone like, oh yeah, I'm a Scareactor, first question is, what is that? No one ever thinks that those are people in costumes. They have to be hired to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, but then I explain and they're like, oh yeah, I didn't realize. Yeah, right. But then they'll go like, scare me right now. No.
I don't feel like it.
I come to the haunt. Come to the haunt when I'm in character. I will recognize you. You won't recognize me.
Right?
Oh man.
And like, it's so funny because I also work Ren Fair as a character, so it's kind of like opposites of like, oh, I'm so nice, but I'm also a monster. But it was the cutest thing where both my worlds collided.
What happened?
So this little kid who came dressed as like a dragon, and he was trying to give me a roar, and I'm like, I got on the floor with it. I'm like, give me your best roar. And he did, and then I played with the character enough where I'm like, oh, I could do it. I'm like, you need to work on that roar. So we're just like both roaring back and forth.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. There was a time that I was told to audition for Grinchmas based on my scaring. Where I was out and I adopted a kid and I was having her scare with me for a while, scare off the other Scareactors. There was an understood hierarchy within my scare zone where we were the trick-or-treat maze. Have you seen Trick-or-Treat?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you know what I mean by zombie kids. So the zombie kids were scared of the wolves who were scared of the chainsaws. And that was the hierarchy. Just understood. So whenever...
Scared of the chainsaws.
Huh?
I said because everyone's scared of the chainsaws.
Everyone's scared of the chainsaws. And there's so many stories of how that went very wrong because like a pool person was there and they would just like wave at me and I'm like, you're supposed to scare me off. Like, improv with me. Oh no. No, what do I do? But that's fine. But that's that understood hierarchy. So I adopted this kid, had her follow me around for a while. I would scare off a zombie kid, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, be scared of me, but also her. And then she would like roar with them and they would scare off. I love it when fellow Scareactors understand the improv that we're going for and take it and roll with it. And then I released her obviously to her guardians. When I was done with my set, I went off and forgot the supervisor's name. Wasn't a supervisor of my zone. It wasn't even a scare zone supervisor. It was just like someone from like the office of Universal. I don't know names. I'm sorry. I'd never met him before, but he was there and I understood his position, never was introduced to him. So I take my mask off. He was like, so you're the wolf girl who was just out there. I said, yeah.
Yes.
Sup? Do you need me? He was like, you're really good with kids, aren't you? I was like, I guess. Why? He was like, have you ever considered auditioning for Grinchmas? I go, yeah. You never hire me.
I love that.
So, bye.
Not happening.
I did get a call back, but
people automatically, just because you work hard nights, you should audition for Grinchmas. I'm like, no.
It's like, you understand very different jobs. I like scaring because it's like therapy for me. I am messing with you. I am being a character I wish I could be normally. I could be like this angry character, or I could be this super fun, crazy character, because society frowns upon that in the daily life of a human. But as a scare actor, you get to get all those impulses out. So it's really fun. But also, if I'm in a bad mood, I don't have to smile. I don't have to pretend that I like them.
You have a mask covering it up, so...
If I have a mask covering it up, I full-on sobbed throughout a set once. Like 30 minutes straight, because I got hurt and I was harassed and I was just done, but I was also too stubborn to walk off the set. Mm-hmm. So I was actually sobbing in my mask because I was like scaring people, and it's like, if the mask was off, people would have thought I was insane, because I am. You have to be a little crazy to be a scare actor. We're all crazy. But I was full on like, like scaring in my mask. And no one knew. No one knew until I took the mask off and my makeup was running down. They're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No! Incident report!"
Oh, man.
But that's the beauty of wearing a mask. But if I was at Grinchmas, you know, there's nothing covering the face. They just have the fake nose on. That doesn't cover anything.
Exactly.
So you have to be like happy-go-lucky. And if someone pisses me off, I have to like still be happy-go-lucky and not have a tone. I'm gonna have a tone. I shouldn't be like a who.
I have enough in my regular job. I don't need to be doing that in a seasonal job.
That's what scareacting is for me, is like a break from that. Why would I willingly go and do that again? And I love working with kids, don't get me wrong, but like, it's an exhausting gig regardless of if it's Grinchmas, scare acting, any kind of acting, any kind of job really is gonna exhaust you if you're doing it every day. And you have to like pretend to be happy and smiling, and I feel bad for the princesses at Disney who are forced to smile, and if they don't get the certain number of smiles, they get dinged.
Oh my god, I can do that.
Right? It's like my face would hurt. Oh, god, no, man. So that's why I like scare acting specifically, and that's why I don't do any of those other jobs. Although, like, I've done children's theater, I've done those kind of gigs before, and they are fun, and I wouldn't mind doing them again, but the purpose of scare acting is the therapy, is a break from those other kind of gigs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I still thought it was funny, like, am I not scary enough? Is that why you're recommending me to Grinchmas? Like...
Sorry, my cat just decided to walk by.
What's your cat's name?
Luna.
Luna! Oh, I love that name. I have 2 cats myself. Buckaroo and Tulip.
No, she decides, hey, I'm going to make an appearance and put my butthole in the camera.
That's cats for you. That's why we had to get a whole separate room for the media stuff, because my cats would make an appearance in season 1 of Scareactor interviews. I'd be like, oh, hi. Oh, do you need food? No, you just want to chew on wires. Great. Okay, now you're going away.
I just wanted to show everyone my butthole. No.
Ah, fantastic. Thank you. It's just what I needed today.
Right? It's just, like I said, it's just... Oh, man, but other haunts, I've had the fortune of working in. With this whole mess, I was actually fortunate to work one that's close by to my house. It was actually like a 10-minute drive, and I'm like, this is heaven, because for years and years and years, it'd be like an hour drive for me, and I'd have to leave earlier because my husband would be in earlier, so it was like a 12-hour day, and then come home, sleep, and then go back, which I know a lot of people did. But it was heaven because I would be there from like 5 to 12 the latest. And it was fantastic because it was just down the street from my place. It was a drive-thru hunt. I don't know if you're familiar with Bite LA. It was a drive-thru hunt. It was great because everyone was in their cars, so social distancing and everything, and they had a creature safari. So they're right there with the flashlight trying to look for the monsters, and you'd be able to come up to their car.
Cool.
But obviously, the social distancing was great. It was,
and also you didn't get punched in the face. Hopefully.
Exactly.
Yay!
And it's because I was a giant wolf.
Yay! You got to be the wolf.
I was actually a giant wolf, and it was great because it was, the arms were like, super freaking long. You've experienced this, and the mask was actually so big that I actually had to wear a bicycle helmet underneath to keep the shape of the mask.
Oh my gosh.
So it was a lot of fun, and it was great work. It wasn't I got the feel of being a Scareactor without overdoing it, because it was paced really nicely, because obviously you had time tickets. And like I went from that to doing the Christmas version of that, but I didn't have to be as happy-go-lucky because I was playing a snowman that was throwing snowballs at people's cars.
Sweet. So you still had like this Scareactor prankster-ness.
I get to be a jerk snowman that throws snowballs and has snowball fights with people.
That's the dream. That's the Christmas-related dream.
Exactly. So, like, even though I don't work like a big theme park, it's nice to still go out and still do it, being able to do it little by little. And, unfortunately, I already know that I couldn't do the schedule that is now being put on people. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't do it.
Yeah. I'm actually tempted to audition for other haunts too. Like HHN has been my home haunt since moving to LA, and I love it. Yeah. I miss it, but having moved out so far and having my other 9 to 5, I severely doubt. I'm still gonna audition, and I'm just gonna let them know, like, I can't work Thursdays or like weekdays. I can maybe do Fridays if it starts at like 7:30, so maybe pool, and then weekends. But I doubt they're gonna want me if I can only do weekends. So yeah, I'll just let them know. Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. HHN is now geared towards people first getting out of high school type of job now for them, because I couldn't do it. The schedule's too brutal. I have other obligations. Obviously, like I said, I have a 13-year-old, and and that's part of the reason why I wanted to step away from HHN, is the fact that I never really had a chance to do any of the fun, like, kid Halloween stuff with my son. So I was like, he's put up with it for his whole life. It's time, step away.
You gotta do the trick-or-treating. You gotta
yeah, exactly.
Watch the horror movies. Yeah.
Holiday I'm fighting for, and I'm not even representing it in my own house. So
yeah, that's another reason I took the year off in 2019, not only to heal, but also I hadn't had a Halloween since moving to LA, and I have all my traditions. So I was like, I want Halloween for me. And
here, I haven't had a real Halloween since 2006.
Yeah.
Up until that. Exactly.
So you didn't take any time off during all that time? Wow.
I had my 2008. I had my son in July and was back to working Horror Nights that same year. So
you're badass. Seriously.
I never really had a chance to like take a break and actually enjoy, Halloween that much. I mean, yeah, I was able to go to like Dark Harbor because it was on nights that we weren't working, thank God. But for the most part, while I was working Horror Nights, I couldn't experience anything Halloween related.
Right. Do you have any other haunts that you really like that you could recommend in LA?
Based on that, just because, like I said, I've only been able to go to Dark Harbor before this whole mess happened. And like the drive-thru haunt at Bite LA was a lot of fun. I don't know what they're going to do this year, but they were fun to work with. But I have some other side projects going on with some Horror Nights alumni, so look out for that.
Fun.
Yeah, I've worked with this company for years and years and years. Boneyard Effects. They used to do they were makeup department for Horror Nights for many, many, many years.
Yeah, I was gonna say I recognize the name. Yeah.
Yeah, Mary Bones and Cheryl Bones. Yeah, Boneyard Effects, and I've done like makeup modeling for them and everything for the Midsummer Scream Convention. My son has actually done some things with them. Yeah, he was Pugsley Adams and then Eddie Munster the year after for their photo op. Oh! Yeah, exactly. And now a few of us HHN people and other people are working on a film with him called Horrorvelt. So we've already done the extended trailer. That's out. Now we're going to be working on the feature film. It's basically a film about German vampires. So definitely keep a lookout for that. Yeah, exactly.
I'm German and a vampire. I'd love to see the representation.
Yeah, so look it up. It's called Horrorwell, by Boneyard.
Will people be able to find it through your Instagram? Because I'm promoting your Instagram right now. So
I don't have it on there right now, but I will definitely put up something.
Yes. So if you guys are interested in any of the projects that she's been talking about, please follow her. Her tag is Scareact13. The tag is right underneath her face here. So go ahead, follow her on Instagram. She's awesome. Yeah, you can see all her spooky stuff.
And like I said, the whole haunt and Horror Nights and just being a Scareactor has definitely opened up a lot of doors for me because you get to meet people. And Scareacting will always be a part of my life. It's always going to be one of the best times. I spent most of my adult life doing it. But sometimes you just got to realize, like, hey, can't do it anymore. Nope. But
as long as you're listening to yourself and you don't have to say no because it's forced upon you. You made the choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's good.
Like, who knows? Maybe one year I'll come out of retirement from Hornets. We don't know. I mean,
Yeah, why
I
not?
have a 13-year-old who might want to do it later on. I don't know.
Yeah, soon as he turns, was it 16 or 18 for HHN?
18. So
18.
5 years.
As soon as he turns 18, he's
We'll
gonna
see
go.
what happens.
We'll see. We'll see.
I know there's some people in management who are like, you need to come back. You need to. I can't. I don't have
At least
anything.
you know that you will be welcomed with open arms if you ever did come out of retirement, and everyone will like applaud you for doing so.
I mean, like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed all the years I have done it, and
Good.
it's not the end. It's not the end. Like I said, it's just sometimes you got to step away from the major haunts and just, because after a while, you kind of lose the passion. You never want to lose the passion for it. You don't want to treat it like another 9-to-5 job. So
Exactly.
and that's another piece of advice. If you're not liking it and you're counting down the times of when you have to come off set, it's not for you anymore.
And you could always try a different haunt because every haunt's different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I started off doing smaller haunts, and I could get away with a lot more stuff doing that, but it didn't pay a lot. So if you're doing it for the pay, yeah, maybe do, like, a union gig, like at a theme park or something. But if it's too much for you, and you're like, I can't do, like, 10 straight hours of this for several months, 5 days in a row, like that's too much for me, then you could go to a smaller haunt somewhere else where they're like, yeah, we do this for 2 weeks and that's it. you got Saturdays free? Cool. So,
yeah, and that's what I did. Well, I went the opposite. I started off at the big haunt, with a lot of, I don't want to say restrictions, but boundaries. And then I'm starting to go to little haunts. I'm like, oh boy, I'm like a kid in a candy store now. Yeah, exactly.
it is, I feel a lot easier to go that way. It's like you start off with the structure and get a footing, right, for scare acting in general. And then you go ham somewhere else because you know what you're doing at this point, and you just let loose rather than starting off with the let loose and tripping over stuff because you don't really have the instincts for scare acting yet. And then you go to the boundaries and you're like, I miss yelling at people.
Exactly. And another piece of advice I have, especially like for scare actors, realize that the haunt industry does talk to people. So bad mouthing somebody else is not going to do you any favors.
Be a good person.
Don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole because, word gets around. It's like, everyone knows everyone in Hollywood. It's like that, but with the haunt industry too, because we know most scare actors and haunt people in LA and SoCal area, but I've met some people who are from like Michigan. You never know. You never know. So it gets around.
I mean, I've been fortunate to become friends with people who are haunters in Germany. And one of them was the first slider ever in Germany, so.
Introduce me! I used to study abroad in Germany, and I love German culture, so that would be cool. But yeah, that's
they're
awesome.
finally having sliders in Germany.
What was taking them so long? Was there like
I don't know. It's because out in Europe, I guess Halloween isn't as big of a deal as it is out here.
No, it's not.
So
not at all.
It was starting to finally catch on in Europe, and that's why they're starting to have more Halloween events out there. So, like I said, Halloween is not as much of a Hallmark thing as it is here. Like, especially if you live in Southern California, this is like the epicenter of the haunt industry in pretty much, the United States. But if you go anywhere else, they're like, why do you like Halloween? Like, it's not a big of a deal.
I just lash back at them. Why don't you like Halloween, huh?
Yeah,
why are you judging me? I could judge you.
Yeah, so it's finally catching on in Europe, and it's finally, like, people are wanting to go do that kind of stuff. So plus, you got to remember the difference in cultures where American stuff is more bloody and gory, and European is more, artwork, artsy, I guess you could say. They have no problem with nudity over there, but we have problem with nudity over here.
Yeah, it's definitely a culture shock. So if you're watching this and you're in a different country and you have no idea what we're talking about, yeah, we're U.S. based, specifically SoCal, Southern California. So every haunt's different, and even different states. Like different states have different rules and different
Mm-hmm.
laws, and you gotta follow. So it is. So take what we say with a grain of salt. We are speaking based on our own personal experiences.
Exactly.
Do your own homework if you are thinking of being a scare actor and you're from somewhere else. Don't go at them and be all like, but they said I had to be 18 and you're saying I have to be 21 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Every area, it's a different jurisdiction. It's going to be a different thing. But for the most part, I think most haunts want you to be 18 and over because of adult and liability and child labor.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's mainly the child labor laws, and make sure you're getting your breaks legally. You have to have like a 15-minute break every few hours, and then a 30-minute lunch every 5 in California. But yeah, take it with a grain of salt with what we say, because it is based on our own experiences. So we're well over time. Almost a whole hour, my goodness. But would you like to share any fun scare stories of like the weirdest or funniest reactions, or just some of your best scares, and share some stories?
I'm like going through the Rolodex right now. I'm like, damn.
It's like, what do you land on? I know.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, so 2016, I was down in the metro area lot, like back lot of Universal Studios. And this was the year that Purge was everywhere.
Yeah.
Purge everywhere. Everyone gets Purge. And the funny thing is, in my area, I was all chainsaw guys, 6 foot up and above. I'm only 5'7", so here I am running around with all the big boys. I look like the kid sister. Like, I'm gonna Purge too. So it was an interesting experience. But they love to do this thing where they'd gather around in a circle and I'd be in the middle. And people are like, what are they doing? What are they doing? So then they'd rev up their chainsaws and I'd come bursting out of there.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was a lot of fun being like, you know, most of the girls honestly are like super tall on the streets now. And I'm like, well, I'm tiny. So
yeah, I'm 5'9". I was 5'10" with the head.
Yeah, see, I've always, well, now I'm 5'6", but yeah, I think I'm one of the shortest girls that work streets, other than, you know, the little people. But
like, yeah, the ones always cast as children.
Yeah, we're all cast as children. Yeah. But yeah, it's just stuff like that. And then I would say, like, the most like heartwarming, I would have to say, was in 2017 up in the upper lot. You know how much of a fun scare zone the upper lot can be, especially when you have free reign to go anywhere up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a few of us, and a couple of them were the chainsaw people too, saw this family that were sitting there eating. We're over there messing with the kids. They're like maybe 8, 9, acting like we're gonna steal their food, stuff like that. And at that time, I had like these really long like claw fingers that came like all the way down to here.
Ooh.
Yeah, they were so cool because they're just like gloves. And the kids were like, no, that's mine, no. So we're just sitting there interacting with the kids, and one of them was special needs in a wheelchair and everything. And I loved it because the dad was sitting there taking pictures, but doing it candidly so that he can get the natural reactions with the kids and everything. And later on, we were able to play tag with the kids, and it was the sweetest thing because the brother was pushing his little brother that was in the wheelchair around, like letting us chase them around and having a good old time. And yeah, that's one of the most like heartwarming. As far as scaring, oof, that's a couple of good ones. I guess I could brag about the one time I scared Scott.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a big deal. Please.
That is a big deal.
For those who don't know, Scott is the casting director for HHN. Yeah, so
he's an amazing, amazing person, and I love him dearly. But
he's very intimidating at first, but then you get to know him, and you're like, he's awesome.
Once you get to know him, he's the biggest sweetheart you'll ever meet. But don't get on his bad side. Don't ever get on his bad side.
No, he'll as long as he likes you, he's nice.
Yeah, exactly. When I was at Terror Trim, yeah, we had like these fences that were like this, and they had a black drop on them, so you could kind of blend in there. This was Walking Dead, and he was just walking by. He knows where I'm at, you know, and I happened to just be shimmied up right against the fence, so he couldn't see me right away. And I just like jumped out, and he's like, oh. So that was one of my favorite scares because he like clutched his pearls and everything, and I'm like,
Oh, Scott.
just stuff like that. Especially when I would get the really flamboyant people, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, jeez. Falling over themselves, and all the fun stuff, and we've had and I'm sure you've gotten through this too, is being able to scare celebrities.
Yeah, I've accidentally scared celebrities, but more often than not, I would be offset, and I'm so pissed off. It's like, oh, did you see Ariana Grande go there? No, I was offset. Oh.
And I've through this job, I've scared a couple of them, but I think one of my favorite memories was scaring one of my favorite wrestlers.
Yeah?
Yeah, and this was 2018, and then I was coming off set and heading to the bathroom. And I ran into him, and I actually started having a full-blown conversation with him, and apparently he's a big haunt fanatic himself, so we connected on that. And
Ooh, fun.
yeah, it was one of the most surreal experiences, so yeah.
Yeah, the only time I had anything like that was Abigail Breslin. Not sure if you're familiar who she is, but I never scared her, but I knew she was like in the park. I never got to see her because I was in a wolf mask and I couldn't see anybody. The closest thing I had to scaring anyone was when I turned around and whoop, there was JoJo Siwa and she screamed in my face, and I was like, I didn't do anything. But cool. But I actually got to meet Abigail Breslin at a friend's birthday party, and
nice.
we like sat down, we chatted about HHN a little bit, and she's just so humble. I was like, so I'm curious, what's the VIP treatment exactly? Like, what do they do to the celebrities? And she was like, I'm not a celebrity, I'm not. Like, don't call me that. And I was like, okay, but the VIP treatment that you clearly got, can you tell me about that? And she told me a little bit about it, but she didn't want to get too into it because she was just like, I'm not a celebrity. Like, don't.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to push it, like I wasn't there to gawk at a celebrity by any means, but I was just genuinely curious. I don't remember who it was, but some celebrity came through, did the photo shoot. I did a couple of the photo shoots. From my understanding, the VIP treatment is they invite the celebrity saying, we'll give you free tickets to HHN and you get to like have someone show you around the park so that you don't have to wait in line and, get the unnecessary attention. All you have to do is take a photo shoot and post it to your social media promoting the event. And then you have to leave that up until the event is done, I think. It's like a certain length of time that it has to stay up, right? And the photo shoot for that year was in my zone. And so I took like a couple with groups of celebrities. I literally don't know them at all. I'm sorry, I'm old. But
all these influencers and these YouTubers and
these rappers with the words, I don't know. But I was tagged in like a couple, like 2 photos, and I'm like, was that a celebrity? I'm sorry, I don't know. But after that, they said I couldn't take photos because I was wearing a Cinderella dress and copyright and all that. But it wasn't really a Cinderella, it was just a blue dress. I was just called the Cinderella werewolf, but whatever. So because of that, I never got to take the photos. But I heard that one celebrity, and I'm not going to say the name because A, privacy, B, I don't remember. I don't remember the person. But I heard that someone was banned from HHN because they did the VIP treatment, they got the photo, they put the photo up, and then after like a few days, they deleted it. So then Universal went back and was like, you didn't hold up your end of the deal.
Goodbye.
Bye. And her defense was like, I didn't like the photo. It's like, doesn't matter. We take several photos. What? It's a good photo. I know the photographer. Mike is awesome. Like, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
So it was just such a BS reason. It's like, no, you have to hold up your end of the bargain. They gave you free tickets and VIP treatment. You got to go through. Hold up your end.
Love that. Just have to take a picture with the monster and enjoy the event. Hell yeah, I'm in for that.
Hell yeah, I would even pay to have that. Like, 'cause a lot of people would. So why are you bitching about it? Just leave the photo up. Just why?
Yeah, just damn photo up. It's funny.
Just put it up, leave it up. You don't have to remember it. Just leave it there. It's Instagram. It's not like a wall saver, you know, like a backdrop to something. Like, you don't have to look at it. Screensaver, wall saver. What am I saying?
That's called wallpaper? No, I'm just kidding.
Wallpaper, screensaver. I do that all the time.
Big.
I combine words like that. I've created words that already exist but have a different meaning because in my head I combined them. I combined habit and hobby once because I could not decide on the word I wanted, and I ended up saying hobbit. They were very confused. I'm like, sorry, it was either hobby or habit, and I chose hobbit. What?
Too much of that pipe weed, you know?
Well, that's the thing. I went to a Catholic school, so I was high on life and only that.
And Jesus.
And Jesus. I am a teacup, not a red Solo cup. I am not used once and thrown away. I am stored in a cabinet and never used for years.
You're like fine china.
I'm fine china. Those are the lessons I learned growing up. But yeah, we legitimately had a rally once where someone came in saying like, don't do drugs, be high on life instead. Here are great ways to get a natural high. Laughter is great. Let's do some funny comedic skits to show you and get you laughing. And
hey, you know, whatever works. I ain't bashing anybody.
I'm high on life, man. I laugh at everything, especially myself, because I am a joke.
And I'm hungry. No.
You eat your favorite food, get that natural high, and then become addicted to the food, and da-da-da. Oh my God, there's a dark side to all these things I grew up with.
Right?
Chips and dip, sure. I'm addicted to it now. I thought I was just getting high on life.
It was those pretzels, they're gateways.
Damn it, it's a gateway drug. Oh my goodness. But that's fun. Thank you for sharing your stories.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Thanks for chatting with me for so long. I feel bad that the person had to reschedule, but thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and chat for so long. You took up both time slots, and I'm so thankful for it. Do you have any parting words of wisdom for those in scare acting? Any funny story that you still want to share before sharing social media and other projects you're working on?
Just that don't be afraid to go out for it. You're gonna look like a jackass either way, and always make sure to scare safe.
Yes.
I know it sounds corny, but scare safe. You can be over the top and fun, and really go out there and just appreciate what you got while you have it, and don't be an asshole. That's the main thing, is don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole. Your character maybe could be an asshole in certain situations. Yeah, you yourself, you are professional. You are there to scare and be nice to people. So thank you. That's great advice. Absolutely. And would you like to promote any of your projects again and share your social media? And
Sure. Yeah, she said that my social media handle is right there, Scareactor Team on Instagram. And if you get a chance, follow Horror Welt Official. So it's HORRORWELT _ That's the newest German vampire project that Larry Bones and Boneyard Effects is doing with a couple of your HHN alumni. And if you love horror, especially indie horror, you always want to support indie horror because it's not studio backed up and you can actually have freedom and actually do what you want. So
I just followed it. I'm so excited. Horror Welt. Yes.
We have kind of not a big celebrity, but Eileen Dietz, who was Reagan in Exorcist, and Pazuzu. She was the stunt person for Reagan. So we have her in the movie too. So it's exciting.
That is so cool.
Gotta have indie horror, you know.
Horror Welt.
Horror Welt. Yes, exactly.
Translates to horror world. I know a little bit of German. You made those kids' nights. Yeah. And then Terror Tram. Oh, thanks, William. Awesome. All right. So please follow Scareact13 and also Horror Welt _ official. Support. Fee, support everyone. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your stories and your advice and wealth of knowledge. And also follow me on Instagram and Discord so that you are up to date with all of my stream schedule updates. Let's see what else. Obviously TikTok. Follow me on TikTok. That's where I post my Scareactor stories and all the other Scareactor content. You could ask questions there and I will post videos about that. So thank you everyone. Fee, I will give you a more proper goodbye. I am going to end the stream here, but thank you everyone. Remember, take care of yourself, scare safe like she said, and have a happy Saturday. Bye everybody.